What up, y'all? It's Orka, and today we're here with a video talking about what is Carbon Angler's best team composition. This is talking about competitive play specifically, and I should preface that I'm not even a competitive player right now. This is just me theory crafting. This is my theory on what the best comp is because ever since Third Kits came out, the night after Third Kits, I was just up thinking about what could be perfect for Carbon, what could be perfect for this new carbon, because this new carbon, I should say, is the only kit that I ever wanted after the second kit. I've gotten actually every single carbon kit that I've ever wanted, I've gotten. I remember when the first carbon came out, I was like, what would be the perfect kit for carbon? And I was like, it would be Burst Bomb Zuka. And then bam, we got Burst Bomb Zuka. And then I was like, well, what would be a really great third kit for carbon? And I was like, Fizzy Chumps. And here we are, Fizzy Chumps. The devs are reading my mind. I've been thinking about this comp this specific kit for Carbon for so long. So it's only natural that I think about the comp as well. And this is just my theory as to what I think the best comp for Carbon Angler actually is. Carbon Angler has Fizzy and Chumps, Fizzy and Super Chumps. I love this kit because it tackles some of Carbon's greatest weaknesses, which is pressure at range and paint, and also provides it another alternative method for moving in and closing space. So Fizzy Chumps does all of that. It also can provide lethal pressure from a range. I've only been playing this game again for 2 days because I said I would come back if there were third kits. And third kits came out and I came back, and I've only played Carbon Angler for 2 days. And then let me tell you, it just feels so good, man. It feels so good to be able to just chuck out a Fizzy, to just get that little extra bit of chip damage, because you're just throwing a vertical at range against a stamper, like a Splatana stamper, and then you hit him for 70, but you don't hit him all the way, or you hit him for 60 or something like that, and then you just roll a Fizzy Bomb, and then bam, they're done. You just checkmate them. You can do the same thing with Burst Bomb, but the difference between Burst Bomb and Fizzy Bomb is that you also have a paint trail with Fizzy Bomb, whereas you don't have any paint trail with Burst Bomb. So that's not what I want to talk about. I'm actually getting sidetracked. That's another video. Actually, I kind of am so excited about this specific topic. I might make a longer or more edited version of this video. Like, it might be the first true edited video that I have on this channel. Also, I forgot to play any music for this. I hope you guys don't mind that. I just didn't feel like looking anything up. Actually, I just forgot. It's not even I didn't feel like anything. Okay, so it has a painting sub and a painting special, and also a distracting special at that. So Carbon likes when there are there are distractions to pull the enemy's attention so it can close the space and then get that splat up close. That's exactly what Chumps do. And it provides more paint for Carbon, which is one of his biggest weaknesses, which is what Zuka did not do. Zuka did not paint for Carbon effectively, at least. It put some paint on the map, but it's not like Carbon could ever use that in like a real sense. But Fizzy Chumps, Super Chumps does exactly that, and so does Fizzy. So I'm telling you, this is a great kit for Carbon. I believe it. I will try my best to play this weapon at my low level. I'll try my best to push it at this low level I am. I'll try my best because I really love this kit. Anyway, I'm enough talking about and bigging up Carbon. Let's talk about what its best comp is, because that's what this video is about. So, what does Carbon want? It's easy. Carbon wants paint. Carbon wants paint. So naturally, its first weapon that is going to pair with it is going to be a weapon that paints really well. I have two frontline pair options that I think go perfectly with Carbon, and I want to talk about them each in turn. The first is the Z shot, and the second is the Z dualies. Why do I call them Z shot and Z dualies? Is because all of them are like, this is the glamours and the twinkles or whatever. They all end in Z. That's why I call it Z shot and Z dualies. I might be the only one who ever does that, but it just makes sense to me. So why do I like these? Why do I like these two weapons specifically? First off, obviously, I already said they paint super well. And they are aggressive front lines. They can obviously they don't have they have actually equal range. Splatter shot and dualies have exactly the same range value. But what I think is really great about both of these is they both have additional chip subs. So they have Burst Bomb and Fizzy, which are like the two best subs in terms of team comboing in the game. So that's already a huge plus for it. But the specials are really where I think this type of comp can shine. So what was the dream with Chumps, with Super Chumps? When Super Chumps was released, everyone was like, wow, it's so cool. You can throw these chumps, and then there are little decoys that deploy on the map, and they have false name tags on them. And you could potentially, people were theory crafting, you could jump to someone who's inside the chumps, and then they wouldn't know that, this is actually a real jump here, right? But then it never really worked in practice. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. But one of the reasons I think that the chump strategy didn't work or doesn't work really well, or hasn't worked really well, I should say, is because it requires that there's already a weapon ahead that's taking space. So it requires that there's already like a frontline weapon that's in the vicinity of the chumps in order for the chump user or any other teammate to actually jump to that front line, right? And there hasn't really been any. I mean, it's been like a mid-range heavy like meta for a long time, and there haven't been like weapons that can close space, like get space on their own in a way that is like kind of safe, and a way that allows for this strategy to be used. And I think that changed with 10.0.0, at least a little bit. I still don't know if this is super viable of a strategy, but for this patch, this is the first time we have a Kraken that's on two frontline weapons. We have the Z shot and we have the Z octo brush. And I think that both of these weapons can kind of, obviously shot doesn't have the best range, but it can get into a front. It's already in the front line. If it gets onto a plat or gets onto like into the enemy base and then pops Kraken, when it pops Kraken, it's invincible. As soon as the Kraken is popped, Carbon then can pop fizzies. I'm not fizzies. Can pop chumps, and then jump to the Kraken recall. The reason why I think Kraken and Bubble work with chumps specifically is because both of them have jumpable, like, I guess you could call this this is a beacon. This is a beacon inside of a bubble. But then this also has a jumpable recall here. And it can help mask the strat of super chump jumping, which I didn't think was necessarily possible. I mean, you could do this with Mint, I guess. This strategy would kind of work with Mint. Maybe that's the only weapon I could see in the previous patch that I could work with, but I think it really works with dualies. And I'll probably show that on the map later, but then these two weapons opens up that potential super chump dream that everyone has thought about ever since this came out. And I think that I don't know how the problem with it right now is that it wouldn't be consistent with just, we can't consistently get a Z shot or a Z dualies on there. But either way, even if it's not consistent, these two weapons I think pair really well with Carbon just in terms of paint and like distractive power. Like Dooley's is really, its maneuverability, also Shot's maneuverability is really high. It can pull attention. It can really peel the enemy's attention away from the Carbon, and I think there's really good synergy there. They both have chip damage bombs and jumpable recall, or not necessarily recall, but jumpable specials that the Carbon can jump to, because the Carbon does want to jump to whatever his teammate is up in the front. And then if you just have the chumps to add on to that. Now, I said that the chump strategy is not viable because it's not consistent. First off, it's really hard to time that type of thing. And also, Carbon doesn't get that much special. Now, here's probably the wildest thing that I'm going to say in this video is I think besides these two specials, there's a third special that pairs extremely well with chumps. And that is in our anchor option is chumps again. I think just like double cooler may be a thing that's on the rise now. Not even maybe. It's definitely a thing on the rise now. And I'm not saying okay, just like is not the proper term. It is not. I think double cooler is probably strong. Not probably. I think it's stronger than this. I do. But just in the same way that cooler can pair well with itself, or crab can pair well with itself, I think chumps also pairs well with itself. And the reason being is because it allows for a more consistent setup of the dream chump strategy, right? Carbon won't always have chump, but Bamboo might have chump. There's also, I should talk about the main weapon. Okay, well, let me finish talking about chump first. Having more chumps on the stage, more little distractions in this heavy chip comp, because look, we've already talked about Carbon has a chip bomb, the Dualies have a chip bomb, the Shot has a chip bomb. This Bamboo Mark II has exactly the same kit as Carbon, so it's double the synergy that Carbon already had, right? And it's still exactly the same bomb. So this is an extremely synergistic comp thus far, where every single weapon, like Bamboo does 85 damage per hit, per shot, right? That combos with the minimum damage of every single hitbox that all these weapons have. It like the minimum hitboxes even. So Carbon has a minimum hitbox of 25 damage. That combos with Bamboo. The average hitbox of Shot and Dualies is 30 damage. Well, 30 and 32? No, 36? 36. Whatever. It's for Shot. I don't remember exactly. It has to be like 36, I think. Or 34, maybe. 36. Anyway, that doesn't matter. That combos with Bamboo. So you have all of these things where the subs combo with each other, the main weapons combo with each other, the specials combo with each other, with oh gosh, I should have looked up the actual damage numbers. I think it's 48 to 60 on chumps, or 35 to 60 or something on chumps, which is again really good depending on the hitbox that you get. Everything is stacking on top of each other. You have more ability to actually carry out and actualize the chump strategy of jumping to the actual chumps. And also, another reason why Bamboo is great is because the weakness with what we've shown thus far is that Carbon has short range. This has mid to short range. This has mid to short range. There's no really long, really mid-range option or long-range option that could challenge things like Stamper, things like Bucket, S-Blast. But that is at least mollified or somewhat solved, somewhat lessened with this Bamboo, which outranges all of those weapons, right? So that is the third weapon that I think would be really really good in this comp. Now the big thing in the big question in the room, question mark that maybe some people are thinking is like, well, how do you deal with pencil or pen? How do you deal with pen in this comp? Um, there's no super really great strategy to deal with pen. You have chumps. That's not going to do anything. I mean, it does something, but it's not going to directly challenge pen. You don't have any long range thing here. Bamboo can't super super duper challenge pen either. That is where the glue of this comp comes together, which is the utility or support, the Z dread, the horns dread, whatever. What is Chara calling it? The Susie dread. um, this is the final piece of the puzzle here. Again, high paint weapon, Dread Ringer. Super, like, so much paint. You're gonna get so many crabs in a game. Also, another midline to challenge the buckets, to challenge the stampers. Um, another area of effect weapon that doesn't have direct line of sight, so you can pressure ledges effectively, which is something that even though Carbon can do it, these two weapons struggle at it, and this weapon struggles at it because this is a line of sight weapon, it's a charger. These are also semi line of sight weapons. So you have another way to put a hitbox in hard to reach places. But you also now have at least some way to challenge Pencil consistently. Move, get Pencil to move from its position in a somewhat reliable manner. Another reason why I really like Horns Dread or Z Dread is the curling bomb. Curling bomb synergizes really well with rollers, as we can see with Splat Roller, right? You have, which everyone thinks that curling bomb bubble is like the best comp for roller for a good reason. This has curling bomb. Curling bomb also synergizes with carbon in the exact same way. And it synergizes with these two weapons. That's why, N-Parry Dualies has a curling bomb. And this weapon doesn't have a curling bomb, but it's exactly the same theory. Curling bomb helps short range weapons close the gap if used in that manner. They can close the gap and help actually lessen the space and increase the threat range between mid-range options such as Stamper and Slosher, right? Also, you basically have a built-in splat roller kit, because if you use the Z dualies, then you also have bubble as well. So you kind of get that synergy there. You have a spiritual splat roller on the team if you use that one, or you could use Kraken. I think Kraken is a little more insidious because the enemy doesn't necessarily know where the recall is. So if you're using this super chump strategy, then they really won't know that there's a jump that's happening where the recall is. It might catch them off guard a lot more often than a bubble would, because once bubble goes up, everyone starts shooting it, right? But when Kraken goes, the Z shot moves everyone. The enemy might not necessarily be aware of where the recall for the Kraken is, especially if there are chumps that come down right after that, right? So that's why I think maybe Kraken is a little better with it, but Bubble also is perfectly fine, and also I think a better special overall. So, yeah, this is basically the base comp here. So you have your Carbon Angler, you have your Z Shot or Z Dualies, you have your Mark II Bamboo, and you have your Horns Dread. Let's talk about alternates, though. Alternative kits. So the reason why I really love this comp is because it's really flexible. So say, for instance, okay, we only have one way to deal with pencil. That I don't think that's enough. Well, you can just get a pencil yourself. Oh, we need cooler. Okay, you could just get a pencil yourself. slot that out for the bamboo. It works perfectly well even with that. Now you have a lot more reliable way to challenge pencil. Or if you don't want the pencil and you want the backless comp still, run a carbon deco and you can still challenge the pencil with the Zuka, right? You have these tools. I think it works either way. I will say this is not what I made the video for, so it's not what I'm advocating for necessarily, but I think it is perfectly great to slot in for that. So in conclusion, what do I think is the best carbon angler comp? Maybe, theoretically, this is it. This is the core here. We have the front line pair, which these two are interchangeable. I don't think that there's really any significant difference between the two. And then this is not interchangeable. You cannot. Dread is the glue. Dread is the glue. You cannot change out glue. But you can switch between these two, the bamboo and the pen, and you can switch between the angler and the deco. I think it all works. Look at this. Chip damage, chip damage, chip damage, chip damage, chip damage. Sprinkler. Curling bomb. Another lethal bomb. There's actually, because Fizzy can be lethal as well. So you could have like 4 faux lethal bombs in here, but so much synergy in this comp here. I really would love if some top players tried this comp, just because I'm not a top player. It would be a dream for me if I could do this, but I can't. I'm not skilled enough at the game. So please share this with your favorite top player. Tell them, please try this comp just for Orca. Please. Please. I just want to see it exist. Let's so this is Inkblot Academy, right? Let's try to see what exactly it is I'm talking about here. So you have, say, let's use the Kraken strat, right? So say that the shot comes up onto this plat and then pops Kraken right here onto the plat, right? They just make the jump from top mid onto this little wall and then come out here, pop Kraken immediately, right? Then starts doing their little Kraken things over here, right? But now the recall for the Kraken is right here, right? Now the chumps, oops, let me undo that. The chumps come down right after Kraken is popped, and then Carbon super jumps, or whatever weapon super jumps to the recall of the Kraken. Now you guys are all of a sudden on their plat. They won't even, Carbon can just sit there and shark. The play doesn't have to even be made as soon as you go onto the plat. You could just literally set up a nice shark and then get people coming back in unexpectedly. Another way that I think is pretty cool is if you use the same thing with, and why I specifically think that this version of Bubble is really cool is because if you set up Bubble here, if the dually sets up Bubble here, then they set up Bubble and then bam, they dodge roll twice to the right or to the left. Now, and then Chumps comes out, or it doesn't come out. It doesn't even matter. But Chumps comes out, right? Chumps comes out onto this plat. Now there's 2 different recalls, or 2 different jump spots that the Carbon can go to, assuming that the dualies is not fighting within the bubble. But it just kind of creates this like weird 50-50 of like, where's the Carbon going to jump to? If the enemy is suspecting that the Carbon is going to jump to the plat here, which one of these is actually going to be the recall here? Or the squid, the what do you call it? The jump spot? Where would it be? I don't know. This is all theory. And, you know, I think I have ideas, but none of this is tested. I just think that it would be really cool to see. I think this comp is really strong. Also, another thing that could slot into here that I didn't talk about, and this is kind of like the healthy diet food groups comp here, is another bubble option, which I guess is another alternate kit that we could talk about here is actually this custom right? So you have more lethal uh, lethal capabilities, but you also still have all the same synergies that the bubble has, right? So this is almost the healthy diet food group's composition because they have Deco and and Junior and Bamboo Mark II. The only thing that we not them is this would be a Stamper instead. So anyway, I think you can't go wrong with any of this. Like to me, but maybe you could go wrong, and maybe I'm completely wrong. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, comment, subscribe, like share it because I do want at least someone share it just so someone can try it. Some top level player can try it. Please. Please. You don't have to like the video. Just share it with someone. Be like, yeah. Or try it in your team. Try it for your scrim. Let me know how it goes. If you're trying it for your scrim or your tournament or whatever, let me know. Oh yeah, this really cooked, or oh, this was a weakness of this. It doesn't actually work in practice, because I'd be really curious to that. All right, y'all. Well, I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.